They do have a timeout. Decide not to use it. Curry, way downtown. Bang! Bang! Oh, what a shot from Curry!
All right, guys. So I know, yesterday and today probably too, I am premiering the videos a little bit earlier than we have been before. And I know if you just watch the videos at a random time, it really doesn't impact you. But for the few people that come out to the video premieres first, I want to say thank you. I love talking to you in the chat. Really makes me excited just to see that we'll have 20 people go out to see the live video. That way I can answer their questions in the live chat as we all watch it together. And I just think that it's an extremely cool experience that YouTube has given us. So if you are part of Notification Gang, if you are subscribed to the channel and hit the bell next to the subscribe button, I owe you a massive thank you. And I'm just giving you a small heads up that those premieres are most likely going to continue to be a little bit earlier in the morning than they were pretty much for the past month. I just want to make sure that we are getting the video up timely. That way you can go through, you can watch it in the morning, watch it whenever you watch it, and kind of implement whatever we are talking about later that day. If we're talking about waivers, if we're talking about buy, sell, I think that's going to give you a better overall just opportunity to go out there and try to use what we are giving you in the videos. But that's it. And what we are going to be doing for this video is we are going to be going down and we are going to be talking about our top 10 center rankings. And we already did guards, we already did forwards. So of course you can find those on the channel below. But let's dive into our top 10 centers. Let's not waste too much time here. And nobody is going to be surprised with the first center that we have for the rest of the season. And this is going to be Nikola Jokic. And yeah, I know you're tired of hearing me just run victory laps after victory laps after victory laps with Nikola Jokic and having him our #1 draft target in the middle of the first round in 2020. But Nikola Jokic, for whatever league you are playing in, has just been straight up dominant. Because we know for those points leagues, what you need to see is you need to see some raw numbers. You need to see points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks. Generally, you're not going to be caring about the efficiency, of course. So for those points leagues, we break it down, and Nikola Jokic is averaging 27 points a game, over 11 rebounds, 8.5 assists, and that is 100% why we were targeting him in drafts in 2021. And surprisingly, this is the one thing that I was not expecting with Nikola Jokic, is he is actually going out there and he is averaging over a steal and a half a game. So clearly that's going to be an elite number for any center. But when he's also going to package it together with those elite offensive statistics, I think that's something that we have to look at for whatever league format you're playing in and go, oh my God, literally the only other center that is even in this range would be a Larry Nance Jr. over at 1.9 steals per game, but obviously he's not giving you anything close to those other categories. And talking about categories, let's talk about some roto leagues. Let's talk about some category formats where we know we care a little bit more about the efficiency. And generally, when you have the player that has a ridiculous usage rate on his team, and he is putting up a decent amount of shots a game where he can average 27 points, you're not necessarily going to expect that field goal percentage to be very high. If you're about 50, 51%, you're going to be happy with it. But no, Nikola Jokic is actually out here with 57% from the field. I know that number doesn't seem believable, but look it up. He's sitting at about 56.6. So rounded up, call it 57. And then at the free throw line, obviously Nikola Jokic is not going to be hurting you there at the same time. So by far and away, I think that we maybe have to say Nikola Jokic is the best asset that you could have in fantasy basketball. With whatever format you're playing in, he is literally just dominating, and he has played 30 games this season. He's averaging 36 minutes a game. So not only are you getting the ridiculous per game numbers, but he is playing more games than pretty much any other center. If we go through and if we look at the designated centers for Yahoo, the players that have played 30 games, you have Nikola Jokic, you have Nikola Vucevic, you have Giannis Antetokounmpo, you have Julius Randle, and then outside of that, Rudy Gobert, Chris Boucher, and really nobody else. John Collins, Jared Allen, but nobody in this same bracket of production. So Nikola Jokic not only winning you your matchup every time he plays, but he's playing all the time. So if you drafted him and you are not currently sitting at the very top of your fantasy league, what does the rest of your roster look like? All right, so now let's go to our next player who is going to be up here based on his per game statistics, even if he may not play as many games as the other players. And this is going to be Joel Embiid. And here with Joel Embiid, I mean, he has completely taken a step up from where he was prior. Now he is averaging over 30 points a game. And Joel is definitely one of the premier players in the NBA at this point, we can all say, especially on the defensive side of the ball. But nobody was expecting over 30 points a game from Joel Embiid. And if you were lying to yourself. That would have been a horrible projection. That is just absolutely ridiculous to expect from a center that kind of, I don't want to say specializes on defense, but is quite possibly a top 5 defender in the NBA at the same time. But Joel Embiid, over 30 points a game, over 11 rebounds a game at the same time. We know that sometimes when you're looking at these centers, yes, they'll come through with points. Yes, they'll come through with field goal percentage. But then in the case of a Zion Williamson, then you may have to be missing out on rebounds. But no, Joel Embiid is going to be giving you the rebounds. We already spoke of his defensive ability and where he is averaging about a block and a half and a steal and a half every single game. And yes, Embiid is not necessarily a Nikola Jokic type passer out of the block, but he's actually improved his passing this season compared to where he was previously in his NBA career, where now he is averaging over 3 assists a game, so he's not killing you. He's not like a Miles Turner. So all of these things adding up, combined with the fact that he has a very nice free throw percentage, a very nice field goal percentage, I think we have to look at Joel Embiid and go, okay, doesn't matter if it's category league, doesn't matter if it's a points league. He is going to be right up here at the top and going to be one of those players dragging you to your fantasy championship. Okay, so now coming in here at number 3, you could make the argument for him to be sitting at number 2 in a points league. I just wanted to put him at number 3 for everybody in those category formats at the same time. We are going to have Giannis Antetokounmpo. And right now, Giannis is right up there with pretty much everyone in points per game. That's something that we expected. Giannis has continued to be dominant with his efficiency at the same time. Now, yes, he is not shooting the ball well. I mean, from the free throw line, he's hovering about 65%. And yes, that number is not going to necessarily kill you if you are not attaching it to a high volume shooter. But with Giannis taking over 10 trips to the line a game, I mean, that is enough for him to pretty much just completely tank you in that category, where we can say, if you play in a category league, yes, Giannis is going to come through and he is going to win you possibly outright your field goal percentage with how close his shots are to the basket, combined with his points, his rebounds, his assists, his defensive stats. I mean, all those categories are going to be elite. But for those category leagues, Giannis is going to be straight up losing you free throws, so that's going to make us drop him behind Joel Embiid. For a points league, because Giannis is going to be playing more games, he will have more assists. I think in that scenario, we want to be going with Giannis over Embiid, but both of these players are going to be sitting here back-to-back at 2 and 3. All right, so now let's get our 4th center up here. Someone that you could make the argument for him to kind of jump up, I want to say up to that number 2 spot, depending on your confidence level in the games he will play. This is going to be Karl Anthony Towns. And Karl Anthony Towns, the sample size is very small with what we've had so far in 2021. Obviously, Karl Anthony Towns has had a very hard year with his personal life, but let's not focus in on that. I know that everybody's talked about that way too much. Let's focus in on what he's actually doing on the basketball court when he's able to play, and he's doing exactly what you would expect. Karl Anthony Towns is coming out, and he is an elite defensive player, averaging 2 blocks a game, and he is not even scoring at the rate that you would expect from Towns, where he is hovering about 22 points a game. That's something that I'll expect to go up as we get a larger sample size, because 11 games really is not enough for us to come out here and base a ton of stuff off of. But the efficiency is there for those category leagues where he's hovering around 94% from the free throw line, over 50% from the field. He is shooting the three ball effectively, making over 2 threes a game. And he's coming through with more assists than you would be expecting from Karl Anthony Towns. But like I said, it's a small sample, so it's going to be hard to take too much away from. But lastly, I just want to address the fact that Karl Anthony Towns is playing on a very bad team, the worst team in the NBA with the Minnesota Timberwolves. So you have to ask yourself, I mean, if we get to the fantasy basketball playoffs, if Karl Anthony Towns has already gone through so much in his personal life this year, what is going to be the motivation for him to continue to go out there and play back-to-backs, to play a ridiculous amount of minutes every night in a lost season where the Minnesota Timberwolves really aren't playing for anything? I think what we could end up seeing is I think we could see just not enough games played from Karl Anthony Towns for him to be making that Joel Embiid, that Giannis Antetokounmpo type impact, and that's why we're going to have him down here at number 4. All right, so now let's get our next player up here. And this is going to be someone that we need to always consider when we are talking about our top 5 centers. This is Nikola Vucevic. And I know I probably butchered that last name. I know that I've heard that name called on about a million podcasts before. Everybody's talking about him this week with the All-Star game coming up. But you know, I am stupid, so it's going to take me a while to finally learn how to say a simple name. But regardless, with Nikola, I think that we can look at this overall profile and go, damn, I mean, this is definitely surpassing what our expectations were in 2021. We all knew that he is a sharp shooter for the center position, where he is averaging over 2.5 3-point shots made a game. And at the same time, he is going through and kind of running the offense where he is seeing a bump up in assists. He's not down in that Miles Turner range. He's closer to 4 assists a game. And he's up at that elite close to 12 rebounds a game for the Orlando Magic. So not too much to talk about here. A player that has a very high floor, and he's playing 34 minutes a game, and he's already played 31 games so far this year. And he's not necessarily the star player of a Karl Anthony Towns. So even if he's playing on a Magic team that has been devastated with injuries so far this season, even if this Magic team doesn't have playoff aspirations, I think that Nikola Vucevic could still end up just riding out the season and logging a ridiculous amount of minutes. All right, so now our next player is going to be someone that is that big name player, but we don't necessarily know when we're going to see him again. And this is going to be Anthony Davis coming in here at number 6. Now, I will say this ranking is totally dependent on what your team situation is. I mean, if you're a team that right now you're sitting pretty, maybe you only have 2, maybe you only have 3 losses so far this season, and you go, you know what? This team's probably going to be in the fantasy playoffs. If this team's in the fantasy basketball playoffs, Anthony Davis could be a league winner for me. Yet, if you're on the opposite side of the spectrum, say you're struggling to stay 500, say you're fighting for one of those last playoff spots, you may have Anthony Davis on your roster and go, what good is he going to do me over the next month? If I hold on to this much value just on my IR, I am not going to be able to go out there and even have a shot at getting into the fantasy playoffs. So maybe I have to sell him for a little bit less than what he is worth. So this is going to be entirely team dependent. Anthony Davis, I really don't even need to talk too much about the stats. I'll highlight a couple things real quick. One, we know he's an elite defender. He's always in the running for Defensive Player of the Year. Right now, he's hovering about 2 blocks a game and about a steal and a half a game at the same time. Now, I will say, I think we need to be a little bit worried about Anthony Davis just playing on such a strong Los Angeles Lakers team where there's not too much of an incentive for him to go out there and for him to make those hustle plays. And you see this right now with Anthony Davis averaging a career low 8 rebounds a game. Now, obviously, this is a strong drop-off from where we have seen him previously. And if we go to the other players like both Nikola's, like Joel Embiid, like Karl Anthony Towns, with all of those guys averaging over 11, it makes an Anthony Davis hovering around 8 look a little bit closer to Zion Williamson. But at the same time, I think we just have to acknowledge the fact that you take the good with the bad. If you're going to be a team in the fantasy playoffs, I think that you go, you know what? It doesn't really matter that Anthony Davis is going to be out until possibly late March, because if he's going to be giving me the elite numbers when it matters, then I'm going to value him highly. All right, so now our next player that we are going to talk about is one of my favorite players in fantasy basketball this year, and this is Christian Wood. So yeah, I know Christian Wood, very frustrating that we are dealing with another injury here. And personally, I wanted to see Christian Wood in the All-Star game, so it's devastating to see the second injury. But, I mean, he has been elite. I mean, I just want to say it. I know a lot of people are going to kind of roll their eyes at this, but Christian Wood right now has been surreal. I mean, he is averaging more blocks per game than Giannis. He is averaging a higher field goal percentage than Giannis at the same time. He's going through and he's averaging more three-point shots made than Nikola Jokic. And he is averaging more rebounds than someone like Anthony Davis. So Christian Wood, I mean, there is so much to get excited about here. And I could see you, depending on the team situation you're in, maybe valuing Christian Wood so close to Anthony Davis that, say you're a team that goes, you know what, I need someone to be putting up points soon for me. I need someone that's going to help me to get into the fantasy playoffs. I wouldn't mind you going out there and trying to trade Anthony Davis for Christian Wood plus another piece, because right now, Christian Wood's on pace to come back very late February, early March, somewhere around March 1st, March 2nd. So if Wood's coming back sooner and Wood's giving you similar numbers, might as well go make that trade, and you can pick up an extra asset just because we know Anthony Davis comes with that elite name brand. All right, so now our next player, I just have to put on this list. Honestly, you can make the argument for him being a little bit higher, but we are going to have Bam Adebayo. And I know, yes, he is not going to be shooting the three ball. Yes, he is averaging 0.1 three-pointers made a game, so you're not going to be expecting anything there. And I know he's not an elite defender like an Anthony Davis, but he's still giving you a block and a steal a game, and I am completely fine with that. But what Bam is going to provide is he's going to provide decent numbers from the free throw line. He's averaging 85% right now. And no, this isn't a player only shooting 3 or 4 free throws a game. He's up at 6 free throws a game. So obviously, for those category leagues, that's going to make a difference. And field goal percentage, an elite field goal percentage at 57%. And for points leagues, 20 points a game, close to 10 rebounds, 5.5 assists, exactly what you're looking for. I mean, every single category except 3-point shots made. And for points leagues, he's coming in with raw total numbers at the same time. So Bam is someone that we are going to have as our center number 7. All right, so now our next player has been sliding considerably compared to where he was during the second week of the NBA season. But this is Domantas Sabonis. And with Sabonis, yes, I know. He has cooled down. I know the three ball is not there like it was before. I know the assist rate is not as high either. But we can't ignore the fact that he is right up there with the elite rebounders in the NBA, where he is giving you over 11.5 rebounds a game and over 21 points a game. But more importantly, he's giving you the assist numbers, which is something we all know is so hard to come by with the center position, where he is averaging 6 assists a game to go along with this. So I don't want to spend too much time on him outside of also saying that we know he's also going to be playing almost every game. Right now he's played 29 of them, and he is averaging about 37 minutes a game. So with Domantas Sabonis, another player that I think we look at the overall profile and go, yeah, I mean, it's not trending in the right direction, but if we look at the season-long points per game numbers, they're still so high to the point where we have to kind of say, you know what, let's ignore everything else and let's throw him in here at the very end. All right, so now technically at the very, very end of our top 10 rankings, we are going to have Julius Randle coming in. And Julius Randle, definitely a better player for those points leagues because, I mean, he is seeing a ridiculous 37 minutes a game, 31 games so far this year. So obviously, we're not going to be expecting the efficiency to be sky high with Julius Randle when he's asked to be on the court so very much. I mean, you can only imagine that he's playing at like 85% the entire time. But anyway, let's just focus in on what matters. Let's focus in on, for those points leagues, you're getting 23 points a game, you're getting 11 rebounds a game, and 5.5 assists at the same time. very, very similar to Sabonis. The only difference is Julius Randle is giving you a little bit less whenever we are talking about the field goal percentage, a little bit more when we are talking about free throws, and we know Julius Randle is going to be giving you almost nothing on the defensive side of the ball. But that's why he's coming in here at 10. That's why he's not up there with the other guys at 7 and 8. So I think having Julius Randle as our 10th best center is going to be a nice way to round out this video. All right, so thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. As always, if y'all did, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I'll see y'all with the video tomorrow.